Accessing Secure Channel. The Agent Files, where aspiring agents rise and masters flourish. Powered by Agent Builder Coaching. Mission initiated. File loading.
Welcome back to the Agent Files. Today we're talking specifically about the phase for agents that are not quite licensed yet, but are really, really close and ready to get going. So we call them the almost agent, i.e. they've passed the exam, you've done all the preparatory work, you may even have paid for your license already, but you're not quite there yet, or you've just received confirmation that your license is active, but you haven't actually done anything as far as the business of real estate. That's the phase that we're going to talk about. It's a really critical phase. And so if you've just finished your exam or you're ready for writing your exam, all of the people in that phase from writing the exam to almost having their license or having their license just activated, there are a lot of things that you can do and should do and spend time on before you actually get licensed. It is really a make or break type period of time. And a lot of people take two steps back because they think that they're already in the business and they or they sometimes they even think that they can't do anything. Well, not so much. There's actually a lot that you can do and a lot that you should do to make your entry into the business a whole lot easier. And that's what we're going to talk about today. All right. So, the realities of starting in real estate are really somewhat misrepresented by the powers to be. And it's not their intention to do so, but it's not their function either. It's not they don't call it their job to really prepare you for the business of real estate. So for many, many people that come into the real estate business after they've done all of their educational stuff and the course and maybe even talk to a few people and maybe read a few books, all of a sudden they look up and they go like, okay, now what? And it's a bit of a rude awakening, and there's a good number of false expectations. For example, a lot of people kind of approach the business of real estate as if it is a job. So with the expectation that somebody, whether that is the brokerage or some sort of a teacher at the brokerage or the real estate board or real estate council, is now going to hold their hand and take them through all the steps of becoming active in real estate. That doesn't happen. That's just not reality. Okay. And if it does happen, then you're very, very fortunate, but it's extremely rare in today's real estate industry. By the way, my name is Peter Fan. I've been in and around real estate now for about 40 years. I've been a managing broker for a number of real estate brokerages. I've run my own team. I've operated mostly in British Columbia, but almost in all jurisdictions within British Columbia in some capacity or another, mostly as a managing broker and actively as a real estate agent in the Lower Mainland and on Vancouver Island. So the two most densely populated areas in the province. So there's not a whole lot that I have not personally experienced in this business, both as a realtor, as a managing broker, or a brokerage owner. So what I'm telling you is not based on some abstract notion. This is reality. And it's one of the most common misconceptions in the business is that somehow, now that you're licensed, the business will just kind of happen or come to you in some way, shape, or form. It just does not happen in that way or in that fashion. And it's a really sobering kind of reality. So it's important that all the time that you have between you getting into the business and activating your license, that you use that time as well and as focused as possible. Okay. If you've taken part of the other series, the Aspiring Agent series of podcasts, you will have heard me talk about the essential need of having a business plan. Well, that's for sure one of the key things that we're we're going to recommend you do. But the essence of this business is simple. It really, get connected with people, service them well, and business will flow. That's kind of the notion. So we translate that into simple statements like get in touch, stay in touch, and people will eventually make their needs known to you and will buy and sell real estate with you. Okay. However, there is competition, and there's a lot of competition. Right? There's in the province of British Columbia. There is, at current count, somewhere around 27,000 real estate licensees. So that's a lot of licensees. Every single one of them essentially is your colleague, but it is also your competition. And you need to be aware of that, right? They're not all there to help you, okay? So the business comes with risk. It comes with responsibilities. It comes with requirements. And there are some very significant costs, of course, right? You're now at that stage, if you've paid for the course, you're going to pay for your licensing. You're going to pay for your applied practice course. You're going to your board fees and so on and so forth. So there's a chunk of money that needs to be available for you in hard cost. And then there's a whole bunch of ongoing little expenses that will take place, whether that is, your increased car insurance or your higher cell phone bill or some sort of an office fee in one way or another, or ongoing monthly fees with real estate boards and what have you, website providers and so on and so forth. So, there are going to be ongoing expenses. Again, if you have not really dug into that issue, it is important to take note of. Now, if that means that you have to kind of pause your activation or rethink your activation, well, now may be a good time to do that, right? Rather than having all of a sudden committed to one thing or another. The business of real estate is also simple because everything in this business has already been done. So if you think you have a novel, creative, unique idea, I'm going to demystify that one a little bit right away. Everything has been done. Everything has been tried. And by the way, nothing really critically has changed over the last 40 some odd years. Yeah, there's more tech and more AI and more, computerization and mobile, and everything is much more paperless. But the essence, you having solid, good working relationship with buyers, sellers in real estate, the properties, having good knowledge about the business, but also the requirements, the rules, the regulations. All of that has been the same forever. And, there's periodic changes. But the good thing is that you come with the most current, most recent, most relevant information to the marketplace. So you don't necessarily need to learn all the stuff that has changed. No, you just need to know what is current, right? And you can forget about some of the baggage and some of the old stuff that we carry with us, and sometimes some of the resentment, right? A good number of the old dogs, like myself, have a bit of resentment over all of the changes that have taken place in forms and pieces of paper and clauses and phrases and privacy and taxes and yada, yada, yada. All of these things that have changed over time, but is immaterial to you because you don't need to worry about the old stuff. You just need to worry about the current stuff, right? And rely on reliable, verifiable resources to confirm what is and what isn't reality and true today, right? So that's why you need to have good relationship with your brokerage, with your managing broker within your brokerage, so that whatever it is that you do can be confirmed and is verified that you're doing the right thing in the right place. Okay. So what we're going to try to do is set some foundations, but we also want to talk a little bit about your dream, right? Because the dream is no different from what it was when you were an aspiring agent before you ever got into this, right? The dream about real estate and what attracts so many people to the business is really about the freedom. Yes, it's flexible, but the freedom, i.e., You are your own boss. Now, again, that comes with the flip side. Also, you are the boss, so nobody's telling you what to do, when to do it, how to do it, where to do it, why to do it, right? You need to bring that inspiration, that motivation to the job. Yes, you can get some guidance and some coaching and some mentoring and so on and so forth, but it still has to come from you. You own it, right? And this is probably one of the hardest things for some people to actually come to grips with, is that you own it, the good and the bad, right? So if something doesn't quite go the way you had anticipated, don't blame the rest of the world, right? Look inside first and say, okay, well, is there anything that I could have done better, right? That will happen from time to time, that you lose a sale or you lose a listing or something goes haywire. You think about it, okay, is there anything that I could have done differently to prevent this outcome from happening, right? That's part of that responsibility, right? But the freedom also means, hey, if you don't want to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and get to work, then do whatever it is that you feel is appropriate, and whoever you want to work with and why you want to work with, right? That's that freedom, that's that flexibility. And it certainly was important for me when I started in real estate, is that I could literally schedule my entire day, week, month well in advance in any which way that I wanted. I had to obviously take ownership of, hey, if I don't do anything, if I don't talk to people, I'm not going to make any money. So there's that trade-off. Okay. But the unlimited income still holds true today, right? There is still people that come in with really good energy, good plans, good business models, and achieve remarkable results in relatively short period of time. Okay. Not all of them can sustain that, but there's also people that start slow, really build that momentum and keep growing and growing and growing until they get to a point where they say, okay, now if I can hold this, if I can maintain this, so they systematize more, they automate more, they get more assistance, more support, so that their life-work balance gets more into sync. And that, however you want to develop it, however you want to set that up, it's perfectly fine. It's your business, right? You get to own it. You can get to make the decisions. Some people come into this business for recognition. There's very big egos, very big personalities in this business, but there's also thousands and thousands of realtors that just work hard and do what they need to do in order to do well, not for necessarily their own recognition, but to fulfill maybe their lifestyle dreams and the lifestyle dreams of the people that they serve. Right? There are definitely a lot of agents out there that feel that the biggest reward is not actually the commission check, but getting people through their transitions in life into their next phase in their life in a way that makes them happy, so that it makes you, the agent, happy, right? And that comes really through that helping people achieve their dreams. And it's a really important part why agents get a lot of satisfaction out of this business. So again, it may seem somewhat dreamy and a little bit pie in the sky, but those are true motivations for a lot of people, and they're important. Okay, they are important. So, let's talk a little bit, and we touched on a little bit on that reality check already. It is a commission-based business, right? And for the most part, there are some agents that have a different model, and if you want to go down that route, there's certainly some options and some possibilities. But for the most part, this is a commission-based industry. So no commission, no money, right? And because we get paid last, that means that all of your energy has been dispersed, all of your work, all of your effort has been exhausted sometimes, and before you get paid. And that can get very scary and very lonely from time to time. right? So there's definitely some financial risk. And with that comes pressure, of course, right? For some people, that means that they feel that they do more, i.e., work longer, weekends, late nights. You know, it, some people cannot handle the stress. Some families cannot handle the stress. So the interpersonal relationship with the people that you're closest to, the loved ones, is a really important component. And it is definitely a reality check worth taking note of. Okay. You know, how is your inner core, your friends, your family, your loved ones, your kids, parents, what have you, how are they feeling about your commitments that you're making and your responsibilities and the risks that come with that, right? How are they feeling about that? I always use this example, is, and it was real for me at the time, is when I started in real estate, I had young kids, right? Um, now they're 40, but, um, but the reality of that meant that, hey, I'm doing an open house this weekend and my kids are doing scouting activities. Well, I'd much rather be at the scouting activities than at the open house. But still got to, put food on the table as well. So sometimes you get these very conflicted situations. Well, what happens if it's dinner time and somebody says, hey, I want to write an offer on the property? Right? What are you going to do? Well, somebody's not going to be too happy about it, right? Whether it's you or your loved ones, right? Or the client. Okay. So there is a really important part to that psychological aspect of this business. So that also comes with some burnout, right? It's very easy to be very, very busy in this business, and you'll find out really quickly that the job is never done. Absolutely never done. There's always other stuff to do. There's always another flyer, another email, another post to send out, another, property to research. There's always something else to do. So avoiding burnout is an important part to that, right? So, and with that, your whole mindset can very much get affected by all of this. Okay. Now, I don't want to scare you, because actually this is also a very exciting time. This period from just before or just after exam to actually getting out your license, there's so many things that you can do, right, that very few people don't actually do. So first and foremost, get clear. Why are you doing this? Why are you picking real estate? The bigger the why, the better you're off. And we translate that into create a business plan. If you need a copy of a business plan, we can certainly assist you with that. We'll do. But create something that significantly outlines why you're doing this and what your expectations are, right? So that you are kind of in sync, in tune with your bigger reasons, right? Why is this important? And I've given in previous episodes lots of explanation about what big whys can be, but I'll give you a few. I had one realtor, and he was really down to earth. He said, hey, I want $1 million cash in my bank account without ever having any debt whatsoever. Okay. So that was his goal. Very clean, very simple, very straightforward. Was a big goal, but 2 years after he got licensed, he made that phone call to me and said, I've accomplished my first goal. I have $1 million in cash in the bank account. Yes, he did a remarkable job in the first 2 years. Just unbelievable. But, it came with a price. I've had other agents saying, hey, I'm retiring because I've achieved my purpose. And in the case of that situation, it was the lady's plan, and achieved that plan, to build 2 schools in Peru, and was now going to retire and manage and maintain the schools with her kids and the whole family in Peru. She did that and has done so for many years following. So, I mean, your big why, your reasons, your purpose can be as big or as small as it needs to be, but you need to be clear on it. That's really the bigger purpose and the thought behind this. And why is this important? Because then you can align everything you do in service of your big why, right? I want the biggest boat in the world. Okay, how are we going to get there? What do we need to do? What do we need to know? What do we need to have in order to get there? And how long is that going to take? And what does that actually look like on a day-to-day basis as far as activity? So once you have that big why, we then reverse engineer everything needed in order to accomplish that. Okay? That's why it's such an important part. Because, and you'll hear me say this many times, there's so many different ways that you can get there, right? One of the biggest challenges that many realtors have is that they are unclear as to their big why, but are also unclear as to how they want to get there. Well, to me, if you have a clear purpose and you have a clear understanding as to your what we call superpower, but your connection outside of real estate or inside of real estate with your target audience, with the people that you want to be in business with, that you want to be in relationship with for any reason, whether it's personal or professional. If you can align the two, then does it not feel like a whole lot less stress, a whole lot less effort and energy, because you're already in sync with these people. Right? They're already part of your sphere of influence, your connections, and that then makes it much easier to align your goals, your efforts with the people that you want to work with, and therefore the systems that you need in order to serve them and your objectives the best. Right? You see how those pieces fit together? Now, obviously, you need to know the rules, right? Now, the real estate course, the applied practice course, all of the materials that you go over in your jurisdiction will keep you in check and actually will make you somewhat fearful of not making mistakes all the time. And it's, again, if you just make sure that you check and have somebody else recheck everything that you do before you do it, don't do it afterwards, before you do it, then it's pretty rare for anybody to actually make major blunders along the way. Okay. So it can be scary, but it doesn't have to be so scary that that it should stifle you. So what can you do before licensing? Well, study. Yeah, sorry. I know. You just finished all this studying. Now you tell me to study more. Yeah, the focus changes though, right? You go from the academic to the practical, from the hypotheticals to, hey, how does this fit to me? How does this work in my scenario, my situation? And we're going to talk about in this program from here to you being actually licensed, every step along the way, from the spheres of influence, the contact list, to marketing programs, to understanding social media, to scripts, dialogues, presentations, understanding buyers, sellers, objectives, all that kind of stuff, right? Networking. We're going to talk about all of these things in greater detail. I just want to give you in this episode an overview of what that means. But what you can absolutely do is study, shadow, observe, right? Take note. Start collecting your sphere of influence, SOI, sphere of influence list, i.e., who do you know and who knows you? Why do they know you? How do they know you? And what is your connection with them now and or in the future, right? Because all of the people that you know and all of the people that know you as you are today. And that's cool, and that's okay. But in the long run, they need to know you as the real estate professional that you're going to be, or that is going to service them if and when real estate comes about. And that's a transitional period that you need to help yourself, but also all of the people that you know through that period. Because until and unless they honestly, sincerely, genuinely believe that you're going to be acting in their best interest and they're convinced of that, they will not do direct business with you or will not refer business to you. That's just reality. It's harsh as that. Okay, so are you going to be disappointed once in a while, where when a friend, a neighbor, even a family member lists or buys a property through somebody else? You can't actually blame them, because until and unless you have proven to them in their mind, not in your mind, in their mind, that you are the right person for them to work with in buying and selling real estate, they need to look after their best interest, related to the largest investments that they're making in their life, right? So it's an important phase in people's life, and it's hard for them to then arbitrarily say, well, we're going to give it to you, even though you've been 2 days out of real estate school, right? So that's going to take time. And you do that by getting in touch, staying in touch, and providing value-added services and resources and information, and connecting with people in a way that they want to be connected with. Okay, so building that list, very important. Practice scripts, role plays, objection handling, presentations, all of that you can learn, you can do now. You don't have to wait until you have real people. In fact, I would encourage you to do it now. Right? Yes, you can do some networking. Now, you need to be genuine and authentic about it. You can't be actually soliciting, hey, I'm becoming a realtor, list with me. No, because that is representing yourself as being an agent, and that's not allowed. But you can connect with people and say, hey, do a survey, do some preparatory stuff, and you talk to lawyers, talk to notaries, talk to people in and around the business to find out what they would need, what they would want to hear, to learn, to experience in working with you in the business of real estate. There's many people that now use social media and basically tell the story of the reasons and how they got themselves involved into becoming a real estate agent. That's a story to tell. There's nothing wrong with it. As long as you don't solicit business, then you bring people along with you in that transition, the transition that they also need to experience from you being whatever you were pre-real estate to what you will become once you are in real estate, right? And then start whatever professional habits, image creation, brand building today that is in sync with what you want to be known for and how you want to present yourself and project yourself. Not as realtor, but just as your overall profile and persona. Okay, so those are some things that you can do now. What you can't do, you can't advertise yourself as being a real estate agent, or you can't advertise real estate itself. You can't provide legal or contract advice, and you can't represent yourself, obviously, or present yourself as a realtor. Realtor is actually a brand, a copyrighted, branded name. It's owned by the Canadian Real Estate Association, and that's why that little R is there. It is a registered brand, and only people that are properly licensed and a member of RIA can use the word realtor as a brand name. Okay. So those are some of the things that you can do. There's a few other things that you can do. We hear very frequently, well, can we attend open houses and just be hosted or a guest at an open house? It's borderline, because inevitably you're tempted to answer questions or get involved in conversations, and that gives the perception and the sense by the general public that you may be a realtor and you can't represent yourself as such. So those are some of the things that you certainly cannot do. Okay. So here's some exercises for you that maybe you can play with, and they are in the workbook. So I'm not telling you something that you have to take notes of. They're in the workbook, so make sure you get that. Write down top 5 things you believe about real estate success. Research or ask a mentor to confirm if they are fact or myth. Right? Your beliefs may be your beliefs, and so therefore they're relevant and they're important. But are they factual or are they myth? Right? It's always a good thing to know. And oh, by the way, Facebook is not really good for fact check, or Instagram, or always go to the source. Right? In real estate, the sources are typically the real estate councils, the real estate foundations, the real estate associations, the real estate boards, CREA, and then anything that is government, right? Whomever sets the rules sets the laws. Therefore, that's where you go. Hearing, taking information, taking knowledge from second, third, fourth, fifth parties, not a good idea. Okay, certainly not in this business, right? So, and then if you come across a myth, then make sure that you replace it with something that's actually factual. And that can actually become a bit of an interesting exercise that you can later use as a marketing tool, by the way. All right. Now, then also do some reality checks around your cost of living and your expenses and your budgets, right? What are your monthly living expenses, right? Estimate how many month you can survive without making any money. And I'm going to encourage you to think about securing upwards to 6 to 9 months worth of living expenses. Why? Because otherwise you're going to put yourself under undue pressure to having to perform in a time frame that you may not be able to do. And that would be devastating. For you, it would be devastating for all the investments that you've made. And now you put yourself under a lot of pressure, which may also then cause that you forget who you're actually working for, right? Keep in mind that as an agent, you're not acting for yourself. You're acting on behalf of somebody else. So if your conduct, your actions jeopardizes the position or the safety or the well-being of your clients, that will always come back to haunt you, right? Whether it is in law or psychologically or otherwise. So it's an important piece to consider your financial abilities or limitations to make sure that you can do this safely. Okay. Now, in doing that, you might want to find one adjustment that you can make that will save some money, or look at entering into the business in a less expensive way or more efficient way or better for you way right now. And there's all kinds of options to think about, of course. Okay. There are some scripts in the booklet, so I'm going to leave those for you to find in the workbook. Okay. So here are these statements again. This exercise that we talked about. Why do you want to be in real estate? What challenge do you expect? How will you deal with rejection? Is a really important question to ask yourself, right? Because you're going to have rejection, and it's going to be personal and it's going to be painful. It's a reality. It's going to happen. It may not happen day one. It may not happen year one. Okay, but it's going to happen, and rejection is a part of real estate, and best not to worry about it too much. We all heard the story about Thomas Edison, being interviewed when he released his invention, the light bulb, and said, "Well, how many times did you try an experiment with this?" And he said, "Oh, many thousands times, and it failed every time until we got it." Well, what made you keep going? And his simplified answer was that the story's much larger and much bigger, but I don't want to give it too much time here. That every failure got me closer to the success, right? And that's part and partially true in real estate as well. I'm not suggesting that you need to go through thousands and thousands of rejections, but it's entirely possible that certainly in the beginning, when you don't have quite the scripts, the dialogues, the salesmanship, frankly, in your back pocket to deal with rejection and objections in a way that can convert some of those objections and rejections into positive outcomes. Right? You need to kind of create that thick skin level to some degree, right? And nobody is suggesting for a moment that you should accept abuse or insults or offensive behavior. Nobody's suggesting that. But rejection isn't that, right? Rejection sometimes is people just you think that they're going to be ready to buy or sell and tell you that they're going to work with somebody else, right? Well, that's rejection, and it's not fun. But it's going to happen, and it's okay, and maybe there is something to be learned from that, okay? And again, write your big why statement, really important. So just in quick summary here, real estate results or real estate success is really your dream and discipline applied to that dream, right? So if real estate becomes your vehicle to accomplish your dream, and so your dream can be anything, right? If you apply the right discipline to your dream through the functions of how real estate is listed, sold, transferred, transactions are put together, pretty much any dream is achievable. Pretty much. I've yet to find anybody saying that, no, I couldn't fulfill my dreams, both financially and otherwise, okay? Launch protocol is preparation and clarity, right? How well you prepare for your launch and are clear about what you want to do with it, the likelihood of a successful launch very, very high. And your success depends very much on an aligned mindset with reality. So it sounds a little bit altruistic, but it really is important to keep yourself aligned with what it is that you want to accomplish. So again, action items, write down your big why, create your assumptions versus reality list, and interview one licensed realtor about their first year. Whether that's myself or anybody that you know, anybody in your community. It's a really good exercise to get a feeling as to what it takes. Now, I have one caution about all of that, is that inevitably everybody gets to this business in slightly different ways, right? So their story is not a demonstration of how it works all the time. It is just one story, right? You create your own adventure, your own story, but learning from a few of these discussions and interviews will give you some perspective, right? And give you some insight as to what opportunities exist. Okay, if there's ever anything we can help you with, I'd be delighted to do so. Again, this is one episode in a good number of episodes about you transitioning from being ready to get licensed to actually getting your license, which is then followed by a fairly intense sequence of what we call rookie realtors, i.e. your first 2 years in real estate and very intensely the first 6 months in real estate. So all of these episodes have a I guess, a purpose in the series of you becoming very proficient and very professional and very successful in real estate. I'm going to suggest a couple of resources. If you are in BC, and I suspect most of you will be, look at bcfsa.ca, bcfsa.ca. That is your regulator, and there's a lot of really good resources there. And I would also encourage you to look at the CREA website, crea.ca, and bcrea.ca, which is the British Columbia Real Estate Association. Now, BCFSA is the regulator. BCREA is the association of all real estate professionals in the province. So it's a little bit more focused on the well-being of real estate agents. Now, that particular site has a fair bit of general public access information, but most of it is behind a membership portal. So it's limited in how deep the information is going to be, but it will give you some pretty good indication as to how they function and what they do. All right. I'm going to recommend two books if you haven't already got them. One is The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. It is an absolute must-read book as far as I'm concerned. And it talks really about the business of real estate in systems, because, in the end, very much this business is run by the most systematized, most structured operations that you can think of. I'm going to remind you one thing, if I haven't already touched on it. There is about 300 some odd tasks, roles, responsibilities, activities in each and every real estate transaction. And there's many variations on all of those. So there's literally thousands of things that can go on in each and every transaction. So having a structure in place, your structure, becomes key. Now, many real estate agents take the structure of what they've learned from somebody and then try to make it their own, and then make it somewhat intuitive, i.e., it lives in their brain, but not in documentation. If you want to, and you feel like you have high aspirations and you want to accomplish high goals, you need to, at some point in time, take all that is in your brain and now create systems around it so that you can delegate 70, 80% of the work that does not require a license to somebody else. Right? And a lot of the work doesn't require a license. Okay? Just not the work that deals directly with buyers and sellers. But many of the other things don't necessarily require a license. So the more you can delegate some of that stuff to somebody else, frees you up both in your life and as well as in your work to do other things. Right? So systematizing is an important part. The Millionaire Real Estate Agent book gives you good perspective on that. And then the other book is called The Honest Real Estate Agent by Mario Giannatore. And it's a really, really solid book on the morals, the standards, the values, because a lot of people think that this is some sort of a sleazy sales business, and it's not. It really is not. I can assure you that 95% of all the agents that I know would, protect their clients in spite of their themselves. Right? They are truly committed to this profession. So it's not always how we're portrayed, but it's definitely some reality to work with. Okay, I'm going to talk about three pieces of technology that you might want to think about. One is, if you're in the Apple world, fine. To me, I've always been in the Windows world. Everything lives online nowadays, so how you get to it doesn't really matter. Structurally, organizationally, and low cost, I would make sure that your information lives online legally. So is that Google Drive? Is it Microsoft Office? Is it, whatever data resource that you use where your information, your data, your files, your marketing materials live, make sure that it is a well put together structure. One of the cheapest ways to do that is Google Drive, and or there are other ways, but as far as I'm concerned, the easiest is Google, because everybody's got it, everybody uses it, right? So you don't have troubles finding people to help you and to support you, even when you want to delegate some stuff. You're not dealing with something that is heavily proprietary. Now, task management and project management becomes an issue for many people because there's so many tasks and so many responsibilities. So some sort of a task management system program. Some people use Asana, some people use Trello. Monday comes up. ClickUp is one. Some people use things like Slack or School, or there's many different versions that can be used for this. Trello, there's a free version for it. I think ClickUp has a free version as well, that you can at least get familiar with keeping yourself organized. And it's really, really quite important. I'm not necessarily talking about organized with communication with your clients, because you would typically use some sort of a contact management system for that. And most of those are paid for, and it takes a little bit of research to find out which one is most suitable for you on that. And it's a bit too early to worry about that, but it's getting familiar around it is certainly not a bad idea. And then last one, and that's actually kind of a fun one, is called Canva. Canva is a desktop publishing, well, not actually desktop, but it's an online publishing platform that can help you tremendously with anything that you want to create, whether it's slide presentations to flyers to brochures, business cards, signs, videos, you name it. And certainly with our brokerage, you get a professional account for free. You can have your own personal account for free there now, and you can start playing with it and getting familiar with what that feels, looks, and acts like. And you can even schedule social media posts. So you can start playing with that a little bit and start telling stories, which is not a bad idea. Okay, it's really encouraged, I would say, without starting to solicit for business. All right, then last and good, leastly, it's us, right? Talk to us. We are here to help you. We're here to help you through this period of time that can be a little scary and a little bit unfamiliar, and a little bit, ooh, what do we do now? That's why we're here. And particularly if you haven't figured out where you're going to go as far as brokerage, we have lots and lots of giveaways, business plans, written some books about various topics and information that we can share with you in ebooks and what have you, some videos, some courses, some resources, and of course our podcast, right? Every week we'll have something new to teach you about the business of real estate, and we call them the Agent Files. I'm looking forward to see you next time around, and hope you have a fantastic week. All the best, and talk to you soon.
File saved. The Agent Files. For more missions, agents' tools, and tactical strategies, subscribe and follow the Agent Files, powered by Agent Builder Coaching. Until next time, stay sharp. Your next mission awaits.